what I'm saying? So, and a guy that doesn't get a lot of ice time to begin with, that might have been just tough for him to kind of to play through. The other thing, too, if you remember, and I know Carp and Brooksy and stuff were really coming to, Brendan's defense this year, is because of the name on the back of his jersey, he seemed to, he had a target on his back as far as the officiating. And I think that, maybe at no fault to him, and then this gets into the coaching aspect of the game in terms of the position it puts Quinn in. Look, Quinn, as far as I'm concerned, he loves and backs up all his players, even the guys he sends up to the Quinn bin and everything else. It's all about making these guys play better. He just expects, we're really lucky. We're really lucky to have a guy, now that we've seen, the body work this year and the ups and downs, the roller coaster. That was the metaphor we were using this year too. But we're really seeing Quinn kind of to develop himself, and we love the guy, and definitely we can see the long-term outlook for Coach Q staying in here. So you get a kid like Lemieux, and he's not getting that much ice time, and then he seemed to be, he had a target on his back from the officiating. And sometimes, that's out of a coach's, what's he going to do? That's out of his hands. So I'm sure that made it difficult for him too. And I don't care what anybody says, and we can talk about Capo, and we can talk about, any other guys in this lineup. You take a kid like this, and if he's got a lot of stuff that he's got to work through, and yes, it's the name on his back because of his dad and everything else, and the reputation and so on and so forth. What's your take on all those little scenarios that I was kind of throwing up there where Brendan's had to kind of work through? And the situation that's basically, put Quinn into, he probably, in terms of, putting into situations and giving him confidence, because that's a big part of this rebuild too. He's got to find out what he can get from these guys. And I think Brendan got the short end of the stick here a lot. And, I say that with regards to the fact that he got the short end of ice time as well. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that if it was a case where Quinn is sort of putting the reins on Lemieux, I think he's making a terrible mistake with it, because, when you have a guy like Lemieux, I think you have to let him be Lemieux, because then he's not an effective player, where he can't go out there and play his game. You have to know what you have in a player. And if you're not allowing him to be that player, you're really you're better off just not having him on your team. And I go back to Sean Avery a lot, but if you remember, Sean Avery really excelled on this team when Tom Rennie was the coach, because Rennie let Avery be Avery, and Avery's best.
The Rangers didn't have a whole lot else going on besides Sean Avery back then.
No, look, they had Yager, they had Dubinsky. I mean, they had, they were that's when, this team was turning it around. And Rennie knew what he had in the guy. And you saw, like, when Rennie got fired and Tortorella came in, Tortorella didn't like Avery. He didn't like the type of player he was. And you know what happened. He fell off. He was never the same player. He left, he came back, and he was just never as effective. If Torch just let him be the player he was, he would have been a lot more effective player, or just get rid of him. If Quinn is like, it's just not worth it to me, where, again, the name on the back of the jersey is leading to him, getting penalties based on, reputation, not even his own reputation, his dad's reputation. And it's not worth it. You might as well just not have him on the team. Like, why even put him out there if he's going to be out there with a muzzle on? It seems counterproductive to do that. So, if that was the case, and I've been as big of a Quinn cheerleader as there is out there this year, I would criticize him for doing that, because I think you got to let a guy like that, do his thing. He's going to always toe that. He's going to be, on that line. Is he going to cross it or not? Sometimes he is. And you have to deal with that. If you want to have that type of player out on the ice, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that sometimes. But you can't just be like, you can't neuter the guy out there, because now he's out there too worried about it. He's worried about taking penalties, and he's not focusing on his game, which is taking the other team off their game and then scoring some goals. So, if that was the case with Quinn, I'd have to criticize him for it. Because if you're going to put him out there, you got to let him play to his strengths instead of having the guy go out there playing nervous and scared and, I don't want to make any mistakes. So I would have rather Quinn just say, look, this is not the type of player I want out there. I think he's going to, make too many mistakes. He's going to cost us some games with some penalties. I'd rather he just be down in Hartford and then, maybe we can trade him, use him in a trade as like a secondary player or something. So, that's where I am. I think if you have a guy with the Lemieux skill set, you need to use it, or don't have him on the team, or to have him down in Hartford, don't play him. So yeah, that's where I'm at with him.
Yeah, and I think a kid like Lemieux, that kind of a player, there's not much room for players like that in the league anymore. There's only a couple of the big guys like Marchand and stuff like that, and who can really get away with being like instigators and also putting the puck in the net as well too. But I think what you alluded to there. Brendan might have to change his game or improve his game.
Yeah, I mean, if he's scoring more goals, I think the coaching staff will be willing, to allow him to get away with some stuff like Tom Wilson on the Capitals.
It's going to be so hard on this team the way it's laid out, like the top 5 that we were just talking about before. He's going to really have to be and he's not getting the ice time. So he shouldn't be anything more than a 4th line player on this team. Gotcha. Maybe 3rd line player, depending on what the lineup looks like, if or how he's playing. And depending on how the rest of the lineup is playing, if he's maybe scoring and the rest of the lineup isn't, and you want to bump him up to maybe a 3rd line role, but on a good team, he's a 4th line player. That's it. That's where he is. If he's on your 2nd line, or God forbid your 1st line, your team's in trouble. And he shouldn't be on your 1st or 2nd line. He's not that good of a player. He doesn't score that many goals. Now, if you're scoring more, yeah, then maybe you can put him up there. But he's just not that good of a player. I think he could show more. I think he has more offensive ability in him than he showed this year, but not enough, where you'd be ever contemplating putting him in the top 6. All right, so circle back now to his 2-game suspension here. With all that said, is it really that much of an impact then, as far as this team, him not being in the lineup here? Because he might He might not have been getting the ice time anyway.
No, I think so, because like I mentioned before, I think 4th line players in the playoffs are difference makers. I think there's always you always need that 4th line to come up big. Any team that goes on to have any success in the playoffs, their 4th line is clicking. They're getting scoring from their 4th line. They're getting great defensive play. They're getting the other team off their game. So I think that he can have a huge role, even in limited minutes, because look, it's the 4th line. They're going to get limited. They're not going to get 20 minutes a night. But I've seen it enough times over the years where you're seeing these 4th line players, these grinding players, have a huge impact on the score sheet in the playoffs. So I think he can, provide that for the Rangers if and when he gets in the lineup.
All right. Well, hopefully, hopefully it's 2nd round, right? That's what we're hoping for, right?
That's right.
Good stuff.
Hopefully I'll be watching the games when they're on, unlike, the Met-Yankees exhibition game, which I wanted nothing to do with somehow.
Come on. Don't beat yourself up for that.
Can you imagine the first show, like the show after game 1? You're like, what'd you think of the game? Like, yeah, I really didn't feel like watching it.
I was in the pool. I was in the pool with a beer.
I don't know. I just went outside in the pool, just hanging out on the deck, listening to some tunes.
Well, don't worry, KD. I've done solo shows before in my time. If that's what we got to do around here, Now, don't beat yourself up about the Mets, okay, in baseball right now. We're locked in and focused with this Ranger squad here, and we're getting a little close to
Yeah, I just didn't like the fact that I didn't make it a priority to watch the game. Like, I was like, oh, my God.
The game meant nothing.
I've become used to no sports being on.
You don't even know who owned the team. Who owned the team?
What do you mean,
who owned the Chiefs? Who owned the Mets?
Wilpons, come on. I didn't know who the coach was, Rojas.
Yeah. Oh, I don't say. Well, don't feel bad, buddy, because I didn't pay attention to the Mets. I had, I don't know if I was, the Yankees for me. So it's, it's different, man. It's a different culture. It's different. Winning culture, losing culture. Don't beat yourself up. A lot of Met fans probably didn't watch that game. Any of the games. All right, buddy.
Thanks for making me feel better, Paul.
All right, last thing before we go, I want to ask you, the 32nd National Hockey League team is going to be introduced tomorrow. Their name and I believe I don't know about the jerseys and the colors, but there was a teaser on here this evening. And any idea what the Seattle name's going to be? Do you care? Are you excited about this? Are you pumped?
What I say? I think we were talking about call them the Seattle Starbucks. Done. Seattle Pearl Jams. I don't know. What's everybody been saying? The Kraken or something? Isn't that been like the name everybody thinks it's going to be?
Well, they did a promo. They released a promo today. And it was about a boat and water and fishing and stuff. So I imagine it's going to be something nautical.
Could you imagine if they unveiled the jersey and it was like the Islanders Gordon Fisherman?
I think that would be
jersey.
Awesome.
If they bust that out, the fish sticks jersey, that would be amazing.
It'd be fantastic. And if they had a great sense of humor, they would do that first.
That's right. Just troll the Islander fans. That'd be amazing. I would run out and buy whatever jersey that they would release, and they would definitely be my second favorite NHL team.
Well, it'd be real easy for the branding and the marketing team, right? Just change the colors.
Oh, my God. A Troll the Islanders jersey? That would be amazing. By the way, I love that I said they would be my second favorite team. Do you remember when you were a kid and you had these are my second favorite team, and this is... Do you have that? Now I'm older. This is my team. I don't have like a second favorite team.
My second favorite, I'm a Rado. I love the Avalanche. But that's because I lived in Colorado when I was there when they won the Stanley Cup. So I have an emotional touch with the city of Denver and those players. I used to love those teams, man. I mean, Sakic and Forsberg and War and Foote. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Those great playoff series they were a part of. And, even when Bork won and all that stuff. Just my second favorite team, hockey team when I was growing up, was the North Stars. I love the North Stars. Just everything. I love the jersey. I still have it at my dad's house, my old North Stars jersey. They were the best. And when they went on that run that one year to the Cup Finals and they got absolutely tattooed by the Penguins, I was into it that year. It was on the Bellows and Broughton and Casey was the goalie. Dino Ciccarelli.
Yeah.
I love it, baby.
I love that team. That was I really liked the North Stars back when. I don't like the Dallas Stars, but the North Stars back then, that jersey was all the N with the star. Classic.
Good stuff. Well, I know what to get you for Christmas now, on top of the McKegg jersey.
That's right. I may go try to find that jersey and put it on and take a picture, put it on Twitter or something.
I'd love to see it, brother. Beard or no beard? That's going to be the question.
Oh, I know beard, but I will have the COVID 25 on, so that thing will be real tight.
Oh, so much to look forward to. All right, buddy. Another great show in the books. Again, thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate it. Next week we get a little closer to real points and the Islander massacre. We got to get them next week. Run the gambit. Take them out. Rough them up. Mess them up. Soften them up for the Panthers. That's what we want next, not this Friday, next Friday. Crazy, right, KD? A week.
Unbelievable.
All right, buddy. All right, everybody. Thanks so much again for listening. We appreciate it. KD, as always, say goodbye to the folks.
Bye, folks.
Thank you so much, everybody. And as always, let's go Rangers!